All right, I'm going to turn it over to Steve because Steve is going to do the introductions and all along those lines, and then we'll go from.
Good morning, world. This is Steve Rao, one of the co-hosts and analysts on Pod and Roku TV. I greet you today, not from the Field of Flags, but I wanted to have behind me the Field of Flags in RTP headquarters, honoring our heroes. And on Friday, we celebrated Flag Day and ended Flag Week. It was a great day to honor the 13 Stars and Stripes when the year 1777, when the Continental Congress approved the stripes. And speaking of Stars and Stripes, we have an election coming up. We're going to be talking about that June 27th, the first presidential debate. And while these candidates are prepping for debate, we see disruption in Israel with Netanyahu asking for the resignation of much of his war cabinet, that he's going to be turning to advisors. Ukraine is pushing for this pact for $50 billion of aid. But many countries are not agreeing to the aid package, including India and other countries. And we're going to continue our discussion on, technology and innovation and the kinds of things that's going to mean to our economy and jobs. I will say that we will, starting in the fall, starting to bring more guests back as I get back to a more routine schedule. And we're going to be talking about that. But I'll end with this just for some thought. What I found interesting in my conversations and fireside chat with John Chambers is how quickly innovation is changing. Traditionally, in the world that we lived in, even up until just a couple months ago, it would be very normal for a company to get funding, to take about 2 to 3 years to get their first customer. In year 4, they could hit maybe 5 million, 10 million. And keep in mind that only 4% of startups can reach that 10 million. There's probably about 43 today companies between the 10 billion and 100 billion mark. But what Chambers said that was interesting to me is even what he's seeing today is that companies can actually bring a product to market in about 2 months, even after they get funding. Month 3, getting their sales. Month 5 or 6, they can hit 1 million. And in 18 months, they can hit 10 million. And then they're off to the races. And we're seeing that with some of the valuations out there. NVIDIA at $3 trillion, OpenAI at 80 billion. In 2 months, they got to 100 million users. So this kind of acceleration is going to do 2 things. One, it will displace a lot of jobs. And it could be the first time in human history when we are displacing jobs faster than we can replace them. So training our workers across the board, it's going to be very, very important. I find it interesting. We're not talking a lot about that during this presidential campaign. But the second thing is the jobs. So what Chambers did predict is that today that number between 10 and 100 billion is about 43, probably going to be about 100 companies in the next 5 to 6 years at that level, and another $4 to $5 trillion companies. You'll see many of these companies come in like Amazon and Google. We don't know whether they're going to be owned by Amazon and Google. But anyway, it just shows you how much the world is changing. So I hope we can talk about that in World Edition as well as the political things, because there's a lot of things going on economically. And with that, we're going to get started. But as I said, my favorite word of the day on this show is turbulence, because politically, that's certainly where we are. We talk about some of these issues on WPTF this afternoon here on Radio Live in North Carolina. And of course, I will be on PBS Carolinas this week for the show State Lines. Thank you all. Let's get started, Mark.
Sorry, Nick put me in.
I'm also having a bad hair day, but I'm working on it. I'm going to get a haircut on Wednesday. And I'll be wearing glasses starting next week because my vision is getting worse. In my right eye, I'm losing vision very fast in my right eye, which is very scary. We don't know what's causing it, but I can hardly see out of my right eye anymore. And it's creating a lot. That's why I'm getting headaches so much.
Oh, wow. So I think your hair looks good, but okay.
Yeah, they say my optical nerves is really thinning in my right eye, and I had 20/20 vision until last year, and this year I'm 20/40 in the left eye, but the right eye is really, really bad, and so I got to go back in next week. I don't have glaucoma, but they're worried. They don't know what it is. But like right now, I can only see you out of my left eye. I can't see the screen from my right eye.
And there's no telling what goes on in that space. I know that Mom got some good news recently because she has been dealing with regular eye injections, and she thought she was going to have to get them monthly, but her ophthalmologist told her that it would now have to be maybe once every 5 weeks or every 6 weeks. So it looks like whatever they are doing is working. So that is good news on her part. And she got that news last weekend. So definitely we were hearing that because my aunt called me to tell me that she's the one that's been taking her to the appointments and all along those lines. So we do get regular reports. In terms of world news, you didn't miss a couple of things, but nothing major. But so for some people, it may be major because apparently Putin is visiting North Korea for talks with Kim Jong-un, as their alliance apparently is growing and everything in that space. So we've got that going on. And we've also got a watchdog group that is warning that there is a reliance on nuclear weapons rising amid global tensions there in China. So apparently Chinese nuclear arsenal is undergoing significant growth, and their stockpile grew rapidly last year. So I guess there are some people that are concerned that China is about to become a major political power as well. And we do know that the Chinese and Philippine ships collided with each other, and that was the first under Beijing's new Coast Guard law. So they just established a new Coast Guard law and everything in that part of the area. And there was a collision between a Chinese vessel and a Filipino supply ship that collided near Spratly Island. So it does look like there is some conversation around China being involved as well. And of course, for those that are of the Muslim faith, there is a major event that is going on today, which is the annual pilgrimage and all that's going on in that space. So apparently there's also a rise in heat strokes because 14 pilgrims died from sunstroke as Ada celebrations began for
the Eid al-Adha, which is the pilgrimage
like 118 degrees Fahrenheit in that part of the world. And it definitely looks like there was even some pilgrims that converged at Mount Arafat for day-long worships as Hajj has reached its peak, and it looks like the pilgrims are continuing the ritual of stoning the devil at Hajj. So that is something that is going on. And speaking of heat, it looks like there's going to be a major heat wave here in this area as well, because it says that oppressive heat wave will broil huge swaths of the east with record-breaking temperatures this week. I know that I went to a Juneteenth celebration on North Carolina Central University's campus, and I did not stay out there that long because it was pretty hot out there. So I did hear some music, saw some dance, got some of their good eats and everything, and then I went back into my AC because it was definitely some oppressive heat there. But millions are facing record high temperatures as the heat dome intensifies over the U.S. It does look like there's going to be a lot of heat out here that we're going to have to deal with, and all in that space. But definitely a lot of people are looking at the money that's being raised by both of the political candidates and all in that lines. It looks like they've had some, I know that Biden went to the Hollywood elite and apparently raised a lot of money, and Trump apparently raised a lot of money as well, particularly after these last trials and all along those lines. But it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, because I am seeing more of the ads on TV that are airing and everything, and we know that we'll see more of these as the November come around and everything. So I don't know y'all's take on this, and if y'all are
let's get right into it. I'm here for about 20 minutes today. Let's just start. We got Dan Worthington here, we got Shaquille, we got Rick, we got everyone here, and Rick obviously has been with us for a while, but I want to start with Shaquille Latimer. And it's so great to see you, Shaq. I'm sorry you've been such a stranger. But let's talk about what you're observing out there, from Australia and U.S. Presidential politics. What do you think is going to happen now that all of these things are going against Trump? Do you see this backfiring for the Democrats? Because it does seem like President Trump's raising more money and his base is more fired up than they were 4 months ago.
Was ask the producers to do something for me? Can you just put Steve and I up together on the screen, right?
Just the two of you?
Just Steve and I. Yeah,
that's cool. Let me drop some people. Oh no, you said Steve and you.
There we go.
How you doing, Steve?
Shaq, it's so good to see you, my friend. Well,
it's good to see you as well.
You're a perfect example of someone that brings, you've got good viewpoints. So I just want to start with you. as we look politically at what's going on in the U.S., what is your take now on what's going on? We're hearing so many different things out there. You bring a really good perspective from outside in. I mean, what advice do you have to Biden? Is this thing slipping out of his hands every day? And do you think that the Democrats are playing it wrong by going after him so hard that, it's taking their focus off of their own game? What's going on here?
So Steve, firstly, although you're a little bit older than me, right? But we have sort of similar backgrounds, right? Our parents migrated to India. I love you. If I had the ability to vote in the United States, I would certainly vote for you, and you know that. I have such great affection for you. I am not a fan of so many of the Democrat progressive policies, right? When it comes to transgender issues and all the other stuff, it's like, guys, what are you doing? Stop. Like, you're confusing the kids, right? That's how I feel. A lot of people attack me for that. They're like, oh, you're such a hard right-winger. Now, it's very interesting for me when it comes to the United States because Democrats are actually on the right of the centre-right political party that I subscribe to here in Australia. But I look at the United States and I see the flag. It represents something that's really important to me, and it's really important to so many people. It's freedom. It's liberty. It stands for something. When your parents came to the United States, like when my parents came to Australia, they came hoping that their children would have a better life. And we can disagree about all sorts of things. Where the left and the right disagree on heaps of things is taxes and, freedom and all this sort of stuff. I don't think there's much of a secret about this. I try to say, look, I'm a moderate kind of person. I'm a sort of libertarian kind of guy. And what I've always said is I don't hate Trump. I am absolutely bloody incensed by this latest stuff coming out of the so-called Trump Republican conservative viewpoint. They, from a leaked position, have just said that they're talking about bringing out a universal, indiscriminate tariff on all international goods coming into the United States. Really? You're the party of freedom? See, it's really easy for me to tell Democrats that you're all crazy, right? I'll do that all day long, okay? Not because I'm political, just because I think some of your ideas are shit, right? When you have, teenage girls cutting their tits off, I think that's a really bad idea. But just from an economics perspective, these pro-business Republicans and pro-business Trump is going to put international tariffs on every single import.
Yeah.
Your country has gone around the world talking about free trade. Your country has manipulated and bullied and hurt countries in the name of free trade. So let me discount Democrats altogether. Those Republicans that are sitting over there right now saying, oh, this is fantastic. Let's build American jobs by hurting the rest of the world that they've already hurt should be ashamed of themselves. There is no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump's going to win this election. He may even win the popular vote. I've no doubt about that. But I hope that the Americans that vote for him understand what their country is supposed to be about and will look back at their founding documents and look back at what were the arguments between the great Thomas Jefferson and John Adams in relation to international trade. And if you are so conservative and so patriotic, just go and look back at what that actually meant. Go and look back at how poor the United States used to be when you had these sorts of policies, and then go out and tell the rest of the world that that's what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And lastly, to our presidential candidate, who isn't with us right now from New York, happy birthday.
Well, we're going to bring everyone back on, but that's a great way. Mark, bring everyone. I want to thank Chanel for setting the stage. I think it's going to make it for a good hour here today. I won't be here for the whole hour. But let's start with what Shaquille Latimer said. And I want to bring in, this is a really great thing because I've been thinking about this in the back of my mind. Isn't it interesting when we look back, and Shaquille, you're in business, but I'm going to get Dan Worthington's perspective and Mark Lee's. The whole reason that we moved manufacturing jobs overseas was to lower the cost of manufacturing. So, which inevitably, when we were all growing up, made it for lower cost. Remember the old thing, made in China. So I wouldn't have to pay, $20 for a shirt. I'd pay $10 or $5 or $6. But then the jobs all went over the seas. We woke up and by the year of 2016, I got in, Donald Trump came along and said, hey, wait a minute. We got to make America great again. We got to move jobs back into America. And so he proposed tariffs. And guess what? We don't talk about this, but what did President Joe Biden do? He's continued those tariffs, right? So Shaquille, one thing and I'm going to go to Dan Worthington. So isn't it ironic that we're bringing all these manufacturing jobs back? We're paying these high wages. But is it fair to say, I don't know about you all, but I went to the grocery store yesterday. I bought a pair of razors that cost me $12. I bought some apples and it was like $9. I bought a box of cereal that was $12. And I do pretty well for myself, but man, I shoved down $75, $80 within the blink of an eye. And this is happening with our goods that we're buying, right? So our cars, our computers. So my question to the panel is, and yes, the Republicans are surprisingly had never been protectionist, but are these protectionist policies hurting America? I'm going to start with Dan Worthington because I think either way now, even if Trump wins, he's not going to reverse the tariffs because he's told everyone we're going to keep the jobs.
Sorry, before Dad responds, I have to take a cheap shot. I have to because I haven't seen you for so long, my friend. I know these grocery bills are high, but you're a Democrat politician. You can afford this shit.
yeah. Lee. Well, Dan, real quickly, just what do you think is going on here? Because isn't it interesting that we're all paying higher prices now?
Dan, we can't hear you.
Muted.
God is
We can't hear you.
because he's a conservative.
Tariffs, yeah, exactly. You guys mute us all. Tariffs are not the reason why we're paying high prices. The reason we're paying high prices right now is because of the inflationary factors caused by the Democratic policies that have been running this country for the last several years. And inflation as a result of the loose spending and poor economic decisions that this president has made. The only reason the economy is doing, the stock market was doing it all well was because of the wars and the military-industrial complex. So I sort of switch to tariffs now. Tariffs make some sense with respect to some countries, but I agree with Shaq that there shouldn't be international tariffs against everyone. That's stupid. They have to be targeted specifically to various sectors. The reason they were targeted against the Chinese is because the trade imbalance, right? And because the Chinese are now attacking the U.S. dollar with the yuan and BRICS and all that. So, tariffs are used as a tool of economic, warfare, just like everything else, diplomacy, that kind of thing. Chinese certainly haven't been very friendly with respect to the buildup of the military, the nuclear weapons and other kinds of things, and their very aggressive economic and espionage activities around the world, stealing technology and that kind of thing. So they are not our friends. They're not the friends of the world. They are in it for themselves. But the United States is in it for themselves too. So it's what are we going to do? Dog eat dog. That kind of thing. Joe Biden has been an utter failure and has provided a total lack of leadership because he's been mostly sleeping at the switch for the last 4 years and has weakened this country and provided a platform for the Republicans to resurge. Donald Trump isn't the poster boy for. It's sad when Donald Trump is the poster board for liberty and freedom and those kinds of things. The Democrats definitely have a different definition of democracy than the Republicans do. I think the Democrats would be very, very pleased to see all the illegals voting because that broadens their base and everything else that's going on. I'm going to finish here, Rick, and then, if he calls on you, fine. But anyway, it's gotten absolutely ridiculous. We see the liberal actors and others trying to prompt up Biden, and see the media trying to prompt up Biden. God, Biden, get out of the race. You're going to harm the country by continuing to run. Get anybody in there, and I'd say the same thing really about Trump. I mean, really get somebody in there that's younger and more vibrant. Let's move on from this battle that we had in 2020.
Like Mitt Romney, maybe from your statement.
Oh no, Lord, no, not Mitt Romney, never.
I know. It was a cheap shot. I know. Rick, sorry, I've jumped in front of you. Dan, let me just ask you a question. I totally understand that there's been some terrible rates of inflation in the United States, and I get it, and I wouldn't be happy if I was American. I really wouldn't be, right? When I was there last time, I went to Jack in the Box, and I was like, what the F? What is this? I was on my way from Vancouver to Seattle and went to a Jack in the Box. So I was hungry. I was like, hey, like how are the prices like this? But let me just ask you a question. Milton Friedman, for decades, blamed the Fed for the Great Depression, right? And we had the Great Recession, and the Fed was, admonished for not having done enough. So going into the crisis of COVID, did they pump too much money into the system? Is that the argument? Like, what would you prefer them to have done? And you're a smart guy. You're formerly a dean of university. I'm not trying to stand up for the Fed, because the last thing I'm going to do is stand up for the Fed, right? Or stand up for big banks. And maybe some of their policies weren't quite as good as they should have been, or the results weren't quite as good as what they should have been. But when Republicans talk about inflation the way that they do, a lot of this has to do with the amount of money pumped into the system by the Fed. Milton Friedman, the great libertarian, complained incessantly that they didn't pump enough money into the Great Depression times, and they were, in fact, the cause of the Great Depression instead of it being a mild recession. Is there an argument that maybe they were in a difficult position?
They're in an impossible position, and the tools they have don't work anymore. It is about supply and demand, right? And because of the governmental restrictions at the ports and everything else, we had a shrinkage of supply. With an increase of funds in the market, competing for the same dollars, 10 million illegals crossing the border. It's insane what we've done to ourselves. It's like holding a gun to our head and saying bang and wondering why none of this is working, right? It's all about supply and demand. The Fed can only do so much. And, all the stimulus programs and all that was a bit too much, including the business loans and all that were forgiven, way too much. And COVID was just an excuse for government grab power and manipulation. I mean, it just is. You just have to look at it from a stepping back, 500 feet to see what really was going on during that period of time.
COVID was the deadliest event in U.S. history, killing more people than Americans killed in all of our wars combined. But
1918 was worse, actually, Rick, when you consider per capita.
Per capita,
smallpox.
but COVID has killed nearly 1.5 million Americans. Our worst war was the Civil War. COVID killed, and per capita, the Civil War was the worst event. But in terms of,
about half of the COVID deaths weren't COVID deaths.
well, all right, I'm not here to argue about with COVID or by COVID, but I am here to say that the tariffs are wildly inflationary.
Yep, I agree.
And also, that half of the inflation is corporations increasing their profit margins, using the president and spending as cover for just making more profits. Oil companies, supermarkets, half of the inflation. Anyway, Trump, the tariff guy, is a terrible businessman. He's mostly made money licensing his name or sucking assets out of stuff and then declaring bankruptcy.
And Biden hasn't?
Between 1985 and 2015, Trump lost more money, according to his tax documents, than any other American. He doesn't make good business decisions.
No, Rick, sorry. No, come on. We have a similar IQ level, and I'll tell you what my IQ level is later, right? You're a smart guy. I'm a smart guy, right? Look, Steve Rao, who's here, who's a Democrat, I love Steve. He is an amazing person. If I could vote, I'd vote for him. No question. But let's not sit here and go down partisan lines. Is Donald Trump a good business person or a bad person? You know what? You ask any tax department in a country where I'm actually taxable, and you ask them whether I made or lost money. Seriously. Now, am I a bad person? No. Or maybe you think I do. I don't think you do, Rick, because I like you and I think you like Vac, right? Are you going to say I'm a bad person? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to look at a tax situation and go, oh, so I can not pay the tax, but some people, if they find out about it, are going to think I'm a complete prick? Or let me voluntarily just pay the tax. And I'm so fascinated by progressives, especially California progressives.
I never said Trump is a bad person. I'm saying Trump.
No, I know you're not saying that, right? But how many taxes have been dodged by the big IT tech progressives over in California where you're from, right? How many taxes did they dodge? So do I think that Trump did the right thing? No. In fact, I'm disgusted, actually, by what he did, right?
Shaquille.
One second, Mark, because I'm going on about how disgusted I'm at Trump. Just 1 second, right? You'll like this. When he built those, the casinos and all that sort of stuff, and he didn't pay, and then he just declared bankruptcy, right? I own and have friends that own small businesses. And people say to me, oh, I'm so confused, Shaquille. Like, what are you? Are you a left winger? Are you a right winger? I don't understand. What I am is I'm somebody who advocates for independence from government, and I advocate for small businesses. And here's the deal. When you're a small business, you can go next week. Be hand down. You can go next. Right. When you're a small business and you get a contract, oftentimes to fulfill that contract, you've got to post some money, or you've got to get a bond or something like that. And sometimes you've got to put your house up on the line, or you've got to max out your credit cards and things like that. But you do it because you think, hey, like, this is a really good idea. So when Donald Trump goes and declares bankruptcy, right, it's not the big banks, because I don't care too much about them. It's not the big banks that are wearing that. It's these small individual people who have borrowed money off their credit cards, who have borrowed money against their house. They're the people that get hurt. They're the people that have to come home and their children say, hey, the ice cream van's coming past. Can we have an ice cream? And the parents have to look at them heartbroken and say, no, because I can't afford it. Yeah, why can't I afford it? Because I borrowed the money so I could fulfill a contract for some guy who's a billionaire.
Hey,
I have never said that. 1 second, Mark. I have never said that Donald Trump is a saint. Okay, I've never said that. I think he's an awful person for some of the things that he's done. But please don't gaslight me. And please don't gaslight everybody else and tell me that Joe Biden is this energetic person. He acts this way in public, but he's an energetic person inside. Or that he is somehow morally superior, Mark, that he is somehow morally superior, a lifelong politician. Okay? We could all talk at lengths about how much of a horrible person Donald Trump is, but please don't tell me that Joe Biden is somehow riding on the wings of the angels in moral superiority, because I'm not buying it, and the American people aren't buying it.
Hold on. I wasn't. Let me say, you misunderstand.
No, Mark, he had his hand up. Rick's going next.
You misunderstand me. I was not attacking Donald Trump's morality. It's probably smart for him to have declared bankruptcy. What I'm saying is Trump tends to make bad business decisions. It was dumb for him to build the casinos in Atlantic City when Atlantic City is a dying city that only attracts low rollers. If he wanted, I think he built a casino in Vegas. That was a smart move. Vegas is a growing market. I'm saying that you shouldn't look to Trump for good business decisions.
Rick, but that's not true though, Rick, is it? That's not true. Okay, you and I, nobody else. You and I, right? We're sitting down. We're sitting down. We're talking in California, and I say to you, "Hey, this is what we're going to do." Right? Forget about the law. Let's just pretend the law allows me to do this. Okay? I say, Rick, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go and put a casino right in Skid Row. We're going to put it there because the people that come in, they're going to have like $5 or some shit, right? And they're going to gamble it. Maybe they'll win. Maybe they'll lose. Who cares? Right? And you say to me, "Oh, gee, like I'm not sure that's such a great idea because are we going to make enough out of it?" And I say to you, "I don't know actually, but you know what I really like? I like the free gamble, because here's the deal, Rick. If it works, you and I are bloody heroes. You and I are going to make off with billions of dollars, and we're going to be amazing, and we're going to put some money into a couple of homeless shelters, and we're going to, be like anti-drug, awesome. We're going to set up a couple of fentanyl programs to like help people that are having problems, right? That's what we'll do if we're successful. But if we're not, fuck it. We'll just declare bankruptcy. Cool, awesome. Right. Are you gonna? No, hang on. My question is, are you going to tell me, not on ethics, but do you want to tell me that what I've just proposed is a bad business decision?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic business decision, because heads I win, tails the taxpayer loses.
But you kill. Hold on a second, both of you, because I've got a question for Steve. I've got a question for Steve based on what I saw this weekend.
No,
so hold on one second, because it actually still stays in the political sense. Still stays in the political forefront and everything.
99%.
Because my question for Steve.
Mark, let Rick go. Mark, let Rick go, please.
Hold on a second. Let
Rick go. Let Rick go. I don't want Rick to feel that he's being attacked. I love Rick. So honestly, I really love Rick. And Rick, this is not personal. I'm not attacking you. Right? I'm just making the points I'm making.
No, hold on a second. But I got a question for Steve based on something that I saw this weekend, which I thought was a brilliant move from a political standpoint and everything. Because a lot of people are critical, and you've even been critical, Shaquille. And by the way, I want to thank you for what you just said about the tariffs, because that's going to give me something to talk about this afternoon when I'm actually.
Well, I aim to please. I aim to please.
A lot of human rights activists from around the country, around the world, actually, because it's a State Department sponsored visit to Haiti. So they'll be from Belarus, they'll be from Latin America, they'll be from a number of places. I think it's about 16 people that are coming to the center to talk about human rights and its role in African-American communities and everything. But that's not what I'm here to ask Steve. What I did is I went this weekend, and I said it at the beginning, to the Juneteenth celebration. I saw Leonardo Williams, who is our mayor. He's dealing with a lot of gun control issues here because we got guns just blazing. Every time I turn around, there's a shooting. Chuck, there was one across from my job last Monday and everything. So a week ago today and everything, literally 5 minutes after I got to work, the shooting took place. But
sorry, what's the question?
I saw at the incident was Mark Robinson was there. Mark Robinson was actually at the Juneteenth celebration, just like he was at Christmas, the Christmas parade. What Leonardo pointed out was that Josh Stein had a bumper there, but Josh Stein wasn't there. So he was going to try to get Josh Stein to come to the event. I did not say for the whole event, so I don't know if Josh Stein made it. I'd be lying as a reporter if I told you that I know whether or not he made it. But I do know that Mark Robinson's people had a very prominent tent there. And one of the things that you say, Steve, is that they're doing a better job of marketing. That seems to me like that is a good thing to do if you want to be governor, is to actually come to events that are even not your target market. Because a lot of times they will say that the African-American community is primarily going to go to the Democrats, but he showed up at the Christmas parade in a predominantly liberal town of Durham. He showed up at the Juneteenth celebration. So is that a case, Steve, of him doing?
Wait. So just so I know, before Steve answers the question, because again, I really like Steve. Steve and I don't 100% agree on a lot of political points, but we have some shared ethnicity. We have some sort of shared viewpoints. I just want to make sure that I've understood your question, right? Mm-hmm. A black guy called Mark Robinson showed up to a Juneteenth event, right? And you'd like to know from Steve, because he just so happens to be on the political side of the Democrats, right? So I'm assuming that you think that he can't disagree, whether it is okay or not okay that Josh Stein didn't show up at the Juneteenth event. Is that the essence of your question?
The question I'm asking is from a marketing standpoint, because Steve has brought it up several times, that the Republicans are doing a better job of marketing and branding their message than the Democrats are. That is what.
Well, let me take a stab at this. First of all, for those watching around the world and country, this is the most watched governor's race in the country, between the current Attorney General Josh Stein, who is being anointed to be the successor of Governor Roy Cooper, who is actually right now the most popular governor in the history of North Carolina, maybe with the exception of Jim Hunt. He's hovering around 89% approval ratings, was the governor during the COVID pandemic. And but the bottom line is this. I think Stein is betting his campaign on the kind of the social issues that Robinson's been talking about. Most recently, an ad that's gone live on the TV when asked about abortion, the lieutenant governor said that women should keep their skirts down, and Stein is sitting on $17 million of cash and is just plummeting the sky with these negative ads. But the question becomes, Mark, is that enough? Is that enough for Josh Stein just to be on TV when the guy is actually out there in the flesh talking to Black Americans and marketing himself out there? I think that we could be in for a surprise, because people are going to vote their hearts, they're going to vote their conscience. And a lot of times Democrats assume that Black Americans are going to come out in droves. But the other calculated, not really mistake, is where is Mike Morgan in all of this?
Right.
I mean, this was a man that was on the Supreme Court, elected twice by the people of North Carolina. We often forget that as a Black man won a statewide election. He's nowhere to be seen.
At all.
He's nowhere to be seen on behalf of Stein. So we'll know in 6 months. But when I said marketing, it's like, don't forget where your base is, and that you got to talk to the people.
And that was my point.
Can I say to you, Steve? Can I say to you? What's it? Can I say to you, Steve? Where I think Democrats, in my perspective, from the other side of the world, where I think Democrats really let themselves down is when they bring up issues, for example, like abortion, right? They bring up issues like that, and that ends up becoming like their sole issue, as if every voter is going to be like a one-issue person. They're not. Voters have a whole heap of other issues. But the way that they try to frame it is, well, if you vote for the other side, you hate women, or you hate choice, or this or that, okay? Abortion is such a weak point for Republicans. Like, there is so many ways that you can absolutely smash the Republicans on this. And on most of those ways, I would agree with you. All right. Dan, who's here tonight, is a good friend of mine. We had a show where we talked about gay marriage. Dan does not agree with me. I don't agree with him, but we're still friends. Right. But Democrats make it as if you don't vote for them, you hate this other stuff. Now, on the abortion stuff, it is so easy to smash Republicans about this. And you don't have to look at this from an American perspective. You just have to look around the world. The rest of the world, conservative parties around the world, in Europe, in Australia, in New Zealand, are looking at the ridiculous, in my opinion, the ridiculous points that are brought up by hard red state Republicans in America. And we are looking at this as going, what the hell is wrong with you people? What you are saying is not, it just doesn't make any sense. But if those people around the world had the ability to vote in an American election, would we vote for a Democrat because we think that the abortion stuff is crazy? Probably not, because there's all these other issues that are in play. And I think that Democrats are spending too much time talking about those divisive issues, thinking that those are the main issues that people are going to think about. They're not.
Yeah,
Mark asked me like 6 months ago or 12 months ago, whatever, after the Dodds decision, Mark said to me, oh, well, that we have women that are saying, hey, like, I'm really worried about the Dodds decision, so, I'm going to move to another state. Really? Really? Seriously? How many abortions are you planning on having?
State, I said they were going to get abortion in another state. You're going to give.
I'm not having a crack at you, Mark. I'm not having a crack at you. I'm not having a crack at you. But the point that you brought up was the same point that media brought up, and we all saw that overseas, right? We see your media overseas, right? We're like, you're going to move to another state because abortion rules are a problem? How many abortions are you intending to have?
Well, like
this is a pretty traumatic event to most people. Like, really? You're going to move to California from Tennessee because you're worried? You're going to move from Alabama to California because you're worried? Like, come on now. But this is the problem. Politicians and our political elite and the strategists get out there and they bring up these issues which are incendiary to most people. Meanwhile, in the United States, 20%, this breaks my heart, 20% of children in the United States don't have enough to eat.
Yeah, that's very true.
You've got people over there that are struggling. Here in Australia, we had a report that came out 3 or 4 months ago where people were skipping meals in order to feed their pet cats and dogs. And the response from government was, well, if you can't afford your pet, give it away to somebody who can. So you've got somebody who has no companionship, who's poor, who has a little cat that they can cuddle up to and scratch their whiskers. And this is the inhumane response that you've got? I'm not interested in Democrat, Republican, Labor Party, Liberal Party, Labor Party in the UK, or the Tories. I'm not interested. Fuck you. How about you start doing something for the people?
No, it definitely should be about the people and everything. I did have a quick question for Dan. I saw your hand up, Rick, and everything, but is it just me, or are you expecting, because I know Jacoby sent me and I've gotten some from other people as well, that it's not just Biden, it's Trump, it's both of them that have said some very kind of like disjointed things in their public speeches and everything. So this debate that's happening this end of the month, I hate to say it, but I'm expecting a train wreck. Are you expecting a train wreck? Because I think that both of these folks are not necessarily the best speakers in the world, contrary to what we think. So I actually expect a train wreck on this June 27th debate. But what is your take, Dan? Because they have both said some things that are kind of like disjointed and they don't make any sense.
Well, Trump speaks in front of tens of thousands of people all the time, right? Off script, no teleprompter. And the fact that he slipped up on a name is one name is not a big deal. We know that Biden has got serious problems. Just by watching him, you can tell he's in decline, and it's not going to get any better. Trump, I wish we had a younger Republican candidate. I wish we had a younger Democratic candidate. Neither one are in the prime of their lives, It's just but it is what it is. We've been forced into the position where these are the two candidates, and those are the issues. Now, on the abortion issue, if you want to be, there's nothing wrong with being pro-life. If you believe in the sanctity of life and you believe that that's an important value, then that's up to you. You have to weigh that against the matter of choice and government involvement and all that. I think that then there's the whole issue of where the line is drawn, and how and when, and because you have the right, the fetus has a right to life as well, right? At some point, the Supreme Court has decided that years ago, and so he has a right protection. There's no more insular minority than the fetus. The woman may be an insular minority with respect to the abortion, with respect to the power of the state, but who protects the fetus? I mean, even the Supreme Court
but Dan, why don't Republicans
raise that issue? I know the Republicans have gone a little crazy on this issue.
No, but even from forget about politics for a second. Why then don't Christians, right? Why don't Christian conservatives then have a consistent message on this? What are they saying? Look, I'm with you. I'm 100, and you know this, right? I'm 100% with you. People aborting a viable fetus because it's inconvenient is morally wrong. I believe that. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you try to legislate morality, how does that work? How does that work? You guys have at the moment, right? You guys have at the moment a debate where Republicans have acquiesced to the position that if a female has been raped, she should have the right to abort the fetus. Really? Really conservative Christians. That's what you believe. That seems rather strange, because if you believe that rape is wrong, and you also believe that life begins at conception, if that truly is a belief that you have, why would you allow her to kill this innocent being, but not allow her to kill her rapist? You're going to take the person that raped her and give that guy 5 years in jail, but you're going to allow the innocent child to die? What was that, Dan? Sorry? I didn't hear it.
I'm okay with her killing the rapist. It's fine with me.
Yeah, so am I, but that's not what your laws say. That's not a position that's advocated by Republicans, right? In the strongest Christian conservative states of the United States, they don't say, yes, you should be able to kill your rapist, right? They say, oh, sanctity of life, we'll give this dude 5 years. Meanwhile, the child who's completely innocent, yeah, fuck him, we'll kill him. How does that make sense to anybody?
In Louisiana, they're going to cut their man parts off.
All right, come on.
Don't be all sorts of excited at the stuff that I'm saying today.
All right, I got 2 quick points here. One is the debate. Now, Trump says a lot of nonsense. He averages about, when he makes public statements, he averages 30 misstatements or lies a day. Biden has verbal tics that are annoying. He says, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. He says that a lot. It's annoying, but Biden is in command of the facts. All right, point one. Point two. Hold on.
Command of the facts.
Oh, God, come on, brother. Come on now.
All right, anyway, so back to Trump, bad business decisions. So you said open a casino on Skid Row. Trump opened 3 casinos simultaneously in Atlantic City. He was competing with himself at a time when Atlantic City's going down because other states are legalizing gambling, and it shows in his returns. In the 10-year period, 1995 to 2005, when the Dow Jones Casino Index was up 160%, Trump casinos were down 89%.
Exactly, Rick. Exactly. If you look at my tax returns, do you think I tell the tax office
investors' money? He lost his investors' money.
Rick, Do you honestly think that I'm going to tell the tax office in writing? They know how much I've made. Do you think that I'm going to tell them that I made 70? Doesn't matter. Do you think that I'm going to tell them how much money I've made? No. Every tax department in the world thinks I've lost money. Absolutely. Look, I'm broke.
You have.
You know, people say to me all the time. People say to me all the time, "Oh, Shaquille, you're a bit anti-woman because you had a bad relationship and you had a bad breakup and blah, 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 blah." And I say, well, you know, it's okay. I'll sort out the prenuptial agreement, right? But the people that really know me, they know that I'm going to ask her for a prenuptial, but I actually don't give a shit whether she wants to sign it or not, because there's no way in hell that she's going to get her hands on 1 cent of my money because it's all hidden, right? On paper, I'm broke, my friend. I'm broke. I've got a Bentley parked out there, but I'm absolutely broke.
All right.
So when Donald Trump says in 2016 to Hillary Clinton, oh, okay, I didn't pay my taxes, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, and you know what? You wrote the rules. Is he right or is he wrong? I agree with you that wealthy people, including me, should contribute more. But these are your rules, my friend. These are your rules. These are the bullshit rules that you guys wrote, and not because you thought it was fair, but because you thought it was politically expedient.
But we're talking about Trump Casinos, a publicly traded company. Eventually it went to zero when other casino companies, MGM, in 10 years, up 430%. Penn National Gaming up 3,200%. Argosy Casinos, Harrah's up 140%. He lost his investors' money. All right.
Yes, but he didn't lose his. No, and you're right, Rick. That's an important point. It's a really important point because you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct, and this is why I will never be, as much as Tovi and others would like to make me out to be, I am never going to be a defender of Donald Trump. Because when investors place their money with me and I have a fiduciary responsibility over their money, I treat that like gold. I am humbled and I am respectful that they are giving me their money. Okay? Donald Trump has never done that. But the problem is that Donald Trump is allowed to do that. And that is not a reflection of Donald Trump. That is a reflection of a broken system. Toby, go for it.
All right, just a couple of things. One, going back to...
I'm sure you're going to disagree with everything I've said, but go for it.
I haven't even talked, Shaq. Thank you for jumping in. But either way...
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Are you going to let me talk? I thought I was interjecting. I thought I was getting an opportunity here.
No,
am I getting an opportunity or are you just going to keep... Are we going back and forth?
We know how much of a bitch you are, Jamie. So please, go for it. Go for it.
Hey, Shaq, how are you doing? We're doing this again.
I'm going to stop my camera so you can have unfettered access to the audience, my friend. Okay, you go for it, sweetheart.
That would be awesome. Thank you. Now he's finally quiet, so now that I can finally talk and retort the points. Point number one, you guys were talking about the debate and how, it could be a disaster. Well, it probably will be based on Trump and not Biden and Trump, because right now the bar gets set so low for Biden. Everybody keeps talking about how he cannot finish a sentence and so on and so forth, which he actually can speak. And he's pretty eloquent when he's able to speak. He does have his speech impediment, which causes him problems. He does actually have his gaffes. However, there's the narrative that Biden cannot speak. Hence the reason why people say, he can't finish the sentence. That's incorrect. They ignore the fact that Trump, when he falls off of the teleprompter, so on and so forth, talking about boats being, electrocuting. Do you choose electrocution by a battery because the boat is going to sink, or do you go by a shark? And then he talks about whales and wind turbines and all this other craziness. Trump really cannot keep, I don't want to say he cannot keep. Trump really goes off the rails a lot, especially when he's off teleprompter. And then the last two debates that they had, yes, they were a disaster based off of what Trump said and how he was saying things. Now, when you go to the abortion debate is abortion should be all up to women. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with anybody else but a woman's decision. It should always be that way because it is her body. And when we talk about, potential life, well, factually, yes, it's potential. It's not a guaranteed. The guaranteed life is the actual woman who is alive. So if we're talking about the woman should have the ability to choose what is going on with her life, we cannot really talk about the rights of a fetus because the fetus itself is just potential and not an actual thing at this moment. Shaq, turn off your camera. Shaq, Shaq, please turn off your camera again. I was actually having a talk. Shaq, please go away again. You're not welcome right now. So again,
according to whom?
Yes, you're not.
According to whom am I not welcome?
According to me, because I'm actually talking.
According to whom? I'll just remind you that more people followed me than you. According to whom am I not welcome?
Every time you jump in, you sit there and want to out-talk me. It's never going to happen because I'm actually paid professional.
No. I don't out-talk you. I out-intellect you, and that's the reason why more people, every time I come on, more people tune in than when you're on. Right?
This has no help for a conversation or a discussion. Please go back on pause again. I just wanted to finish out my couple of points. Jack, I just wanted to finish out my couple of points real fast. And then you can have the floor all you want to again. So again, going back, Jack, again, can you go back on blank again? Because you were actually polite then. So again, going back to the abortion part, Jack, please go on blank again.
Wait. I thought protesters weren't supposed to be polite. I thought activists weren't supposed to be polite. So what is that? What is that? Just because I have a different opinion to you, I'm going to be polite? Is that the deal today? Is that the deal? Hey?
This is what we're going. We're going on the last 3 minutes. No,
it's okay. It's okay. You make your point, sweetheart. You make your point. It's okay. It's okay, sweetheart. You make your point.
This is not going to work.
You make your point. It's okay.
Again,
sweetheart. You make your point.
What you want to say, and let me finish talking. So again, my final few points. Again, with abortion, it should always be a woman's decision because it has nothing to do with anybody else but her and her medical professional and how she's setting up her life. And in terms of investments, talking about Donald Trump, and it has been well documented, had he not done anything with the money that he had gotten from his father, he would have actually been better off now had he not done anything. But it's the way he invested. It is well documented, Shaq. I'm sorry you poured investments. Shaq, no one should listen to you. No country should listen to you about your investments. I am going to do this now. I'm going to attack you now because you're going to sit here and overtalk me. You can either sit back and relax or you can expect some shots fired.
I'm chilled as fuck.
Again,
I'm chilled as fuck, my friend.
Please stop. Let me finish talking.
There is no one more
country. No country should listen to you talk. No country should listen to you talk because of the fact of you sitting here being disrespectful to other individuals and not allowing them to talk. So let me finish. Again, there are points. Yeah, keep laughing. This is why you're a poor investor, and I'm not sure what boards you're on, but you shouldn't be on there.
Investor.
Yes, you are. So again, Shaq, again, expect these shots fired unless you're gonna let me finish my point. I'm gonna keep putting these shots fired. Okay. And you know the funny thing is, Shaq, you talk about going to these countries. You talk about going to these countries and helping individuals, yet you're choosing individuals that hurt individuals. Right? So again, shots are going to keep fired until you sit here and learn how to be quiet and let me talk. So I'm trying to finish this out.
I'm a poor investor. Let's make sure we hear the wisdom of Jacoby.
I'm glad Africa likes working with you.
I'm a poor investor. I've managed billions of dollars worth of funds right?
Actually, go
I
against
drive a
all
Bentley
the things that
around
they talk
Sydney
about.
City,
Chad, you're
but
the one who's
Toby
sitting
said,
here talking
I'm
about.
a
You
poor
won't let me
investor
finish a
based
point, so
on
I'm going to
what?
keep shooting
Based
shots.
on your
I'm going to
broadcast?
keep shooting shots.
Based on your
I'm going to
broadcast?
keep taking
Really?
these shots.
Sitting
I'm
there,
going to keep taking these
because
pot
I've looked
shots
you up.
unless you
I've
allow me
looked
to
you up,
talk.
and I know how
I
much
just
your
want to
house is
finish my
worth.
point.
Sitting there
It's
in your
okay.
broadcast house, right, in North Carolina, you're going to tell me that I'm a bad investor. Wow, champ. Wow. I hope that.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. You
Good luck with
invest
that.
for your
Good luck with that,
You're not
champion.
there,
You haven't even left the United States. You've never been anywhere else in the world other than North Carolina. Good luck with that, buddy. Good luck.
Shaquille and Steve, really quick, because we're getting ready to get out and get to economic money. I did have a quick question for Shaquille and Steve. Like I said, I'm going to meet these human rights activists in about 2 hours. That's why I was getting ready and everything. So, and these are from all over the country. They're from Europe. They're from Africa. They're from, I think there's like 16 or 18 that I'm supposed to meet. I know that you meet with them regularly, Shaquille. So what advice should I be and question should I be asking these human rights activists that are from all over the world?
I'm gonna pretend like I'm Joe Biden to just liven it up a little bit. I'm gonna try a Biden imitation.
No, seriously, Shaquille, what things should I be asking these investors? These human rights activists. They're from all over the world. They're from Belarus. They're from Europe. They're from Africa. They're from a number of other countries. And I do know that you meet with these people regularly. They're coming to Haiti to learn about human rights initiatives that have been placed here in North.
Human rights is a somewhat difficult subject, right? Because there are things that I think most of us look at and it hurts. It really hurts.
Right.
I can show you footage of refugee camps where parents have allowed their 6-year-old daughters to marry somebody else, right? But the boy who marries her is like 10, right? In our minds, living in the West, that's inconceivable. We would never do that. Human rights is difficult. Human rights is complicated.
Right.
We can never look at another human being and cast judgment on them because you don't know their story. You don't know what they've been through, right? And what I would say to any person that wants that professes or wants to be a human rights activist, don't go into it thinking that you're morally above them. Because as somebody who's worked in this area, some of the things that you will see is heartbreaking. Yeah. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I was once, I don't know why I'm even going to tell this story, but I'm going to tell anyway. I was once I won't name the place. I was once in a particular location. And this girl came in, very, very young girl. She had a baby with her. And this is a young girl, maybe 14 or 15 years of age. Right? We looked at her child. We said, you know this child's dead, right? She was trying to breastfeed this kid, but she didn't have enough nutrition in her own body to breastfeed this kid. I looked at her, I said, but you know that this child's dead. She goes, yeah. So I tried to give her a hug. We took the baby away from her. I tried to give her a hug. And she wasn't that interested in the hug. And I looked at her afterwards and I said, are you okay? Because the natural reaction from us is, let's call in some counselors. Right. Let's make sure that, she's going to be able to handle this. And I'll never forget this to the day I die. She looked at me and she goes, and she was about 15. And she looked at me and she half smiled and she said, it's okay. I'm used to it. Now, whether you want to be a capitalist or a socialist, or you want to argue about left-wing or right-wing politics, whatever. The bottom line is that there are billions of people in this world that are suffering.
Yep.
2/3 of this world's population doesn't have enough to eat. You want to have a crack at me for being a capitalist? Fair enough. Right? I'll argue the toss with Toby. I want to argue with you, Mark, for being a lefty. You know, why are you supporting BLM? They're ripping off Gucci stores, right? We can sit here in the freedom and luxury of the West and have these conversations. But there are people out there who are suffering. And it's not just one or two people. It's 2/3 of the world's population that are suffering like this. I think we can do better.
No, we can.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything or that I'm some sort of guru, because I'm not, right? For the 200,000 people that are following me now, and I haven't even put anything out on social media, but because of Pod TV and because of Nick, all of a sudden I've got 200,000 people there watching. Let me tell you from the heart, I'm no guru. Maybe the things that I say make sense, maybe they don't. Maybe you think I'm an idiot, maybe you think I'm a genius. Maybe you think I'm outspoken, or maybe you don't. It's not about me. And it's not about you, Mark. And it's not about any of our other guests.
No, I agree with you.
We have such a significant issue in our world where human beings are suffering, where animals that share our planet are suffering, where birds that fly over the oceans and take fish are suffering because when they take the fish, they get bottle caps in their throats.
Right.
We have such a significant issue that's facing us. And left-wing, right-wing politics, whatever the hell you're going for, none of the people that are in charge are dealing with this.
I agree, Chuck.
And that is so atrocious. And I used to say, and I will still say now, that every political leader in the world should hang their heads in shame. But I've changed my mind about that. Not just them. Each and every single one of us that have allowed them to do that to us should cast our eyes lower and hang our heads in shame too.
I hear you, Shaquille, and everything, and definitely a very poignant message that you gave. And all along those lines, by the way, it is a State Department visit through UNC, and it's international focus. This will be my second time doing one of these. The other one was with a group of hip hop artists from around the world. I think that was a bigger group. It might have been 25 or 40 or something like that. But I do look forward to the conversation. Like I said, they're coming from all over. I think there's some from India, there's some from Belarus and some of the Eastern European places, and there are definitely some from Africa and Asia. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. And they work in everything from the legal field to I think there's some judges. There might even be some politicians. So who knows? I might try to get them to come on Pod TV if I get a chance to actually get a long talk with them and everything. But right now we're getting ready to get on out of here. I know they've got economics money, and I've got to get ready to run to an appointment and then get ready to that meeting at 2:00. But as always, a good conversation, and we're going to get on out of here. We'll have more conversation tomorrow. I think there might be some guests coming, but they're not till later on in the week. So we'll continue these conversations and all along those lines. I did see that Maryland was giving away a bunch of pot and all along those lines. I think they were forgiven during their Juneteenth celebration. So a lot of people are going to get off on minor offenses and all in that space. I forgot the amount, but it was a whole heap of them. It might have been in the multiple tens of thousands